We're going to jump right into talking Texans coming off that 31-10 victory over Cincinnati. We both thought they would win. We both picked the same games all week. I know you tried to say you picked Denver, but that was on Sports Radio 610, where you can hear Indy multiple times during the week. So, you got J.J. Watt down with Antonio Smith. What is it?
Well, the best DE tandem in a 3-4 defense. All during the year, we were talking about how the Texans boast the best running back combination with Ben Tate, Arian Foster. If I would have said at the time, best defensive end combination, I think people would have thought that I was crazy. But if you look at the 3-4 defenses around the league, the New York Jets, the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you look at those 5 techniques, I don't think there's a better tandem than J.J. Watt, Antonio Smith. You don't just have to look at the sacks. Antonio Smith ended up with 6.5. J.J. Watt with 6, I believe, at the end of the regular season. But look at the play. Look at the big plays at the big time. Look at the tackle for losses. Look at the activity. They're not just big guys taking up space. I think they are the best tandem in the NFL.
Okay, what is it that each of them does that impresses you so much?
Well, they both do the same thing that impresses. They're big and they're athletic. When you look at J.J. Watt, 295, I'm sure during the week he gets up to 300. When you look at Antonio Smith, 285, 295 range, but they're so athletic. They use quickness. They use athleticism. They use technique to get to the backfield. They do everything that you expect these small, hybrid-type defensive ends to do. J.J. Watt, for God's sake, snatched the ball out of the air and ran it back for a touchdown. So they're showing their athleticism. They have a lot of wiggle. We call it wiggle, guys that can move east to west and have to make those offensive linemen get off their feet, get off balance. They can both do that. They can also play 4-3 defensive ends. That's how athletic they are.
We'd also be remiss if we didn't point out Antonio Smith has really emerged as a strong team leader, not afraid to speak up off the field, also does a lot of dirty work on the field. If he sees one of his teammates getting treated unfairly by another player, and I know you guys always respect a teammate like that. Now, who's your unsung hero after this game?
Oh, man, when you talk about the unsung hero, you have to go to the offensive line, and you have to go to the guy who broke his leg 27 days before that game, and that's Mike Brazzell. He had an arduous task in trying to block Geno Atkins, all-pro Geno Atkins, not Pro Bowl, one of the best defensive tackles in the game, Geno Atkins, and he did a good job. And what that did, it gave him confidence. It's going to get him ready for the big Haloti Ngata. That's who he's going to have to deal with. Mount Cody, Haloti Ngata, and that defensive front of the Baltimore Ravens. But with his showing against Cincinnati and against Geno Atkins, I think he has the confidence, and he's showing his teammates and himself that that leg is okay.
Not as 340 pounds he's listed. They think he's more like 360 or 370. Have you ever seen a big man as quick and athletic as he is?
Actually, I haven't. When you look at Haloti Ngata, like you said, they have him listed at 340, so you know the reality is he's 360. Then he could play the zero technique, and when I say zero technique, I'm talking about head up on the center. Then he could just go down the line and play every position, from the 3 technique, which is on the edge of the guard, to the 5 technique, which is on the edge of the tackle. That's amazing for somebody that size to be that athletic, to move up and down and be versatile like that.
Now, we've heard this week from a lot of fans and a lot of local sports talk show hosts, including some at our station, Sports Radio 610, like, woe is us, Wade's going to be a distraction. You know, Wade shouldn't be able to interview. It's going to curtail the team. Coaches interview all the time during the playoffs. Gary Kubiak did. You've been through it. You had coaches at Philadelphia, Washington interviewing for jobs. Is it a distraction for players?
Absolutely not. This is the NFL. These guys are professionals. I'm talking about the players, and they understand that this is a business. It's not like college when a coach comes into your living room and promises your parents that they're going to help mold you into being a young man. Then after a year, they're talking about going to a different school and you feel like you've been betrayed. This isn't college. This isn't that same mindset. This is the professional ranks. Believe it or not, you have individual goals, even though they're masked by team concept in the NFL. Guys on that field, they're all trying to get individual accomplishments. They're trying to get bigger contracts. They're trying to stay in the league. NFL, not for long, so your goal is to stay in the league. But then during the season, that's when the whole team camaraderie and team goals come into play. When you see a coach that's a coordinator get a chance to be a head coach, you wish him luck, and you're not going to be distracted. And I like that they're doing it on a Friday. That's the easy day for coaches.
And they're doing it Friday evening when he
Yes.
would be at home resting and everybody else is gone and doing whatever they do.
Absolutely.
So it's not like he's taking up company time.
Right.
Plus, Wade's done this so many times, he doesn't need to spend a whole lot of time in preparation for an interview.
Well, how do you prepare for an interview when you've taken the defense from 30 to number 2? All you do is say, this is the stat sheet from last year. This is the stat sheet from this year. Enough said.
And I'm 82-59, And then when they say, what's your playoff record? You say, oh, well,
You start coughing.
Now, this game, the biggest game in NFL history here was after the 1979 season when the Oilers went to San Diego. They were 20-point underdogs. Nobody's ever 20-point anymore. The Texans 7.5-point underdogs. But the similarities in here are unbelievable. Inexperienced quarterback, as Gifford Nielsen had to play for Dan Pastorini, going up against a team. In this case, Baltimore has a great defense. They had a great offense with Dan Fouts and Eric Coryell. What this team did not have was Earl Campbell was out. But they got the running game here. In the first game, Arian Foster was limited to 49 yards. And Ben Tate, they ended up those two with 90 yards. Don't they have to run better, more effectively to be able to pull off the biggest, what I think will be the biggest win in history, even surpassing that 79 victory at the Chargers?
They're definitely going to have to run better and run more often because you do not want T.J. Yates dropping back, knowing that Terrell Suggs and co. will be coming after him. So, yes, you have to establish the run. And as you know, when you have success early on during the run, that opens up the play action, which this team runs so well because Kubiak coaches it so well and so intensely during the week. This is something that they're going to have to do, and I think they're going to have to establish it early. That doesn't mean that you start the game with 10 handoffs to Arian Foster, but you do plays that set up the run, and you let Baltimore know that we have the best running back on our team. You're going to have to stop them.
Okay, you say plays that set up the run. Are those passes? Because Baltimore's got a great run defense, and you know they want Yates to throw the ball, so they're going to do everything they can to load up the box. And he's looking at Nada, Lewis, Suggs, Reed, Jarrett Johnson, who's one of the most underrated players in the league, the other linebacker. What do you do to set up the run against them?
Well, first of all, you set up the run, and you have to get T.J. Yates some confidence. So you do a lot of three-step drops, and if you do a three-step drop, I don't care who your pass rushers are. If the timing is right on the offensive side, it's hard to get there. I understand Haloti Ngata will be rushing up the middle, so he's closer to the quarterback, but with a three-step drop, if the timing's right, then you hit whether it's James Casey coming out of the backfield running a Texas route where he starts for the flat, then he cuts in the middle. That's a nice, easy throw that will get you confidence, and it will loosen your defense up so you can go against the run. Because when you start completing passes, then the guys, they start thinking pass rush, and there's going to be those lanes open, especially with that zone blocking, and that's when you hand the ball off to Arian Foster and he hits one of those lanes.
Will Chris Myers have to double-team Haloti Ngata with Mike Brazel?
Anytime you see Haloti Ngata, you either do a chip or a double team. And that's not saying anything bad towards Chris Myers or towards Mike Brazel, as if they can't take him one-on-one. He's one of the best. You either help with a chip block, a combo block, or just a straight double team.
October 16th, Texans went to Baltimore. They were only trailing by 6 points with 5 minutes left, and they lost 29-14. Is it good for this team, especially a young, inexperienced team, to have played in Baltimore this season?
Oh, yes. Because they've been there before, especially when you talk about, like you said, a young, inexperienced team. They could say, well, we've been there before. We understand what it means to travel there. We understand what it means to play them on their home field. So this is definitely going to help this young team.
In that first game, they let Joe Flacco throw for over 300 yards. He had a lot of deep passes to Torrey Smith. What do they have to do to keep Joe Flacco from throwing for 300 yards again?
Pressure. When you look at Torrey Smith, he's one of the fastest guys in the NFL. He was drafted because of the time that he ran in the 40 at the combine. So you have to get guys to be pressuring Joe Flacco. I hate this statement, but it's true when they say this quarterback doesn't like getting pressured or hit. I've never met a quarterback in my 12 years that said, I like getting hit, I like getting pressured. But they have to get in his face, even if they don't make the sack. One thing this team has been very, very good about, getting their hands up when they're in the passing lane. If they could do that, if they could get in his vision, if they could tip some balls, that's going to frustrate Flacco, and that's going to help your defensive backs defend those very fast wide receivers. And not only that, Anquan Bolden, he had over 800 yards receiving this year. I know he wanted to get to that 1,000-yard plateau because he is a premier wide receiver. He's another guy who's going to expect to have a big game.
Okay, what does it benefit the pass rushers knowing that your quarterback is a 6'6", pure pocket passer who is not going to hurt you running the ball or really sliding to avoid the rush? He is what he is, a pocket passer.
You love that. That doesn't mean that he's not a good quarterback, but as a pass rusher, you could be aggressive with your pass rush. When you're going against a Tim Tebow, which we'll talk about later in the show, or a Michael Vick, one of those athletic quarterbacks, you can't be as aggressive because you have to make sure you don't lose contain. You know that they might make you whiff when you're coming at them full speed. But when you're going against a Flacco, a Kerry Collins, one of those big, strong, traditional pocket passers who don't move so well, you could let it all hang out.